Yeah, of course.
Princess Diana died.
Tiger Woods had his first ever win.
South Park released their first episode.
The Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, but something else happened in 1997.
In the DeRolf v. State of Ohio decision, the Ohio Supreme Court ruled that Ohio's school funding system was unconstitutional.
Why?
Because it failed to provide and distribute adequate resources for quality education across the state and for its over-reliance on property taxes.
It means that school funding across the state is heavily based on property taxes in the area and the schools they're located in.
The property taxes are what provide the schools with their funds. Therefore, the wealthier the area, the more funding the school receives.
This leaves poorer areas with less funding and inadequate resources for the students.
That was almost 30 years ago. Something must have changed, right?
You'd think, but in 2023, nearly $1.2 billion of school funding in Ohio came from property taxes. That makes up 10% of the total public school funding in Ohio for the year.
It shows here that's basically the same as it was in 2009.
You can pause and look at the stats for yourself if you want.
That numbers may seem really small, but it's actually not fair because it's not evenly distributed among the schools.
Some schools may receive thousands of dollars from property taxes, while others are forced to rely fully on the general state funds.
This results in some students having inadequate access to
Textbooks?
School supplies,
Transportation to and from school.
Important technology.
Even teachers.
In America, nearly 11 million children are poor. That's 1 in 7 kids, who make up almost 1/3 of all of the people living in poverty in this country.
these children need the resources provided by the school because they likely do not have access to them at home.
While teachers may be able to help the issue and provide excess resources, the entire burden cannot be placed on them.
It is important to consider equity rather than equality in the case of school funding. Creating equal expectations across Ohio for property tax-based funding leaves many children to fall behind in school.
There needs to be excess state or federal funding going towards schools located in areas with lower property taxes.
Many students in wealthier areas have access to transportation, supplies, and textbooks without schools intervening, while students in poor areas may not have that.
What's the difference between equity and equality? They sound the same to me.
Equity means that everyone is provided specific resources in order for them to be successful, while equality means everybody is treated the same.
Regardless of specific needs.
So basically, schools who receive less property tax funds should still be granted the resources they need to make a successful learning environment.
In a perfect world, that would be how it works, but we live in America.
When funding is inadequate and proper resources are not provided, the consequences are dire, with lower graduation rates, lower test scores, and limited college career readiness.
Now you know a little more about the issue of poverty's effects on children in the school system.
Stay tuned to hear more about some resources designed to help.
Ohio ACE,
AVID, Children's Defense Fund, United Way Worldwide.
These are just a few of the many programs in Ohio and across the U.S. to support children and families in poverty.
People living in poverty deserve access to all of the specific resources necessary to ensure success and create an accessible way out of the issue that can be passed through generations.
Our mission is to inform the public, spread awareness, and fight the epidemic that is poverty.
Let's dive into what each of these programs do and how you can access them.
Ohio ACE is the after-school child enrichment educational savings program. This program was designed after COVID-19 to help families impacted by poverty to enable their children. They provide $1,000 per child to qualifying families in order to provide children with proper education and ability to participate in extracurricular activities.
So basically, the ACE Educational Savings Account provides funds to the student's parent or guardian to use on various enrichment and educational activities. The program is being offered through a contract between Merit International Incorporated and the State Department of Education and Workforce.
AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. This is a nonprofit organization designed to create more equitable and student-based schools.
Its purpose is to provide students with the skills needed like note-taking, time management, goal setting, and effective communication in order to be successful in advancing academically with the ultimate goal of attending college.
Of the more than 20,000 students enrolled in the AVID program nationally, 93% of them were found to have continued on to college.
The Children Defense Fund focuses on eradicating child poverty, preventing abuse, and ensuring access to healthcare and education. They provide healthcare access, school discipline reform, juvenile justice, early childhood education, and leveraging networks for positive impact.
The Children's Defense Fund provides a 6-week summer program for children living in poverty. They are called CDF Freedom Schools. These schools provide a unique learning experience for the children involved and provide resources and opportunities they may not otherwise have access to.
These graphs are a visual representation of the students they serve and the positive effect they have. You can pause the video if you want to have a deeper look.
United Way Worldwide provides resources to poverty-stricken students and families in Ohio on a grab-and-go basis. United Way strives towards equity for everyone, especially in healthcare, education, and financial stability. To access these resources, dial 211 into your phone.
These programs are so important to so many people. By addressing the root causes and taking steps to prevent them, these programs are helping to stop the multi-generational cycle of poverty.
Accessing these programs are easier than it may seem. To get help, we suggest you look online, talk to people in your community, or reach out to government figures in your town.
I'm writing a letter to some Ohio government officials about the injustices in our school funding system. Does anyone know who I should write to?
You could start with Mike DeWine, the state governor.
The Ohio General Assembly would be good too.
Don't forget about the Ohio Department of Education.
And the Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Attorney General Dave Yost definitely has the power to help.
The Ohio judiciary is important too.
It's very important to educate yourself on who you vote for, read up on current events within your state government, and be an active part of it.
Writing letters to the people who have the power is a good way to leave a positive impact on local governments. We should help Lily write some letters, and you guys should too.
Ohio school funding has been broken for decades, leading to deep inequalities in our schools. Despite the Ohio Supreme Court ruling it unconstitutional multiple times, the funding system still relies heavily on local property taxes, which means schools in wealthier areas have more resources, while schools in poorer areas struggle.
Today we're going to talk about the government officials responsible for this, how they failed, and what they can do to fix it.
Let's start with Governor Mike DeWine. In 2021, DeWine helped push the Fair School Funding Plan, which was a step in the right direction. But the plan was only partially funded, leaving many schools without the resources they needed.
Governor DeWine has failed to follow through on fully implementing this plan, leaving the most vulnerable students behind.
How can he do better?
Governor DeWine should commit fully to funding the Fair School Funding Plan in future budgets, ensuring that all Ohio students, regardless of their zip code, get the education they deserve.
Next, let's talk about the Ohio lawmakers have had the power to fix the unconstitutional school funding system for decades, but they haven't taken real action.
Even after the Ohio Supreme Court's Dorolf decisions, which ruled that our school funding system was unconstitutional, lawmakers still haven't made long-lasting reforms. Ohio legislators must prioritize education funding and pass laws that reduce reliance on local property taxes.
They need to provide more state funding to districts with fewer local resources, so all students have the same access to the same quality education, no matter where they live.
The Ohio Department of Education and Superintendent of Public Instruction also play a role in this.
The department oversees how school funding policies are implemented, but they haven't done enough to push for a permanent solution. Right now, they should be advocating for a more equitable system that addresses the long-standing disparities.
How can they do better?
The superintendent needs to actively call out funding gaps and push for the comprehensive reforms.
They should be the voice demanding equal opportunities for all students, especially in underfunded districts. Attorney General Dave Yost, Ohio's top legal officer, also plays a role in
The
this.
Supreme Court ruled our school funding system unconstitutional more than 20 years ago, yet Yost has not taken any meaningful action to address this ongoing violation.
He could be using his platform to push for legal changes that force the state to fix the problem.
He needs to do better.
Yost should work with lawmakers to draft legal frameworks that ensure schools are funded fairly.
We should also hold the state accountable for its constitutional obligation to provide an equitable education to all students.
Even Ohio's judiciary plays a part. The Ohio Supreme Court ruled the system unconstitutional, but they've stopped short of enforcing their own decisions.
Without strong enforcement, the rulings are just words on paper, leaving students in poor districts to continue suffering. How can the judiciary do better?
The courts must hold the state accountable and enforce the decisions that have already been made. The law is clear, and Ohio's children deserve action, not empty rulings.
All these officials, Governor DeWine, the Ohio Legislature, the Department of Education, General Yost, and even the judiciary have the power to fix our broken school funding system. They've failed Ohio students for too long, but they can still make a change.
By fully funding the Fair School Funding Plan, reducing reliance on local property taxes, and holding the state accountable for past rulings, we can ensure that every student in Ohio has the chance for a quality education regardless of where they live.
It's time for Ohio leaders to step up and fix our school funding system for the future of our students and the future of our state.